Welcome to the Battle Buddy Podcast with Keith McKeever.
Welcome back to another episode of the Battle Buddy Podcast. I have a guy by the name of Big Country here, and this guy is a big guy with a big personality, and I'm so excited to have you. Welcome to the show, brother.
I appreciate you having me on, man. Hella much.
Yeah. So let's just kind of start at the beginning. What was the motivator for you to join the military? What'd you do? Share some of that story with us.
Oh, man. I'm a little bit older than most people, man. My grandpa raised me. He was retired Navy. So we always had that like military structure in the house. Plus, I mean, you know, back in the 80s where we actually went out and played in the woods and played outside. I don't know, man. It just kind of grew on me, by my grandpa who raised me. And then, of course, got into ROTC and pretty much excelled at that. My first year in, I got a leadership medal from the governor of South Carolina. So I was like, yeah, I think this is my path. So just kind of originated from that, man, just childhood stuff, military.
Hey, you think that transition to be able to do that was a direct impact of your grandfather raising you and him being a veteran? That structure in the household and some of those like skills and stuff that, we kind of have as veterans?
Absolutely. I think my generation's the last generation that really got their butt whooped when something happened around the house. It was normal for you to hear your parents to say, hey, go cut a limb off that tree out there. I'm about to whoop your ass, and you got your butt whooped. We didn't have a bunch of crying babies to where it's like, oh, I got hit. Well, you shouldn't have did what you did. You shouldn't have egged that house, or you shouldn't have toilet papered that tree, or you shouldn't have knocked on somebody's door and took off running. I mean, just stuff as we did as kids, man. But yeah, I mean, absolutely, man. I mean, we were expected to get up at a certain time, brush your face, brush your teeth, wash your face, get ready for school, come home, do your homework, eat your food. And, if you did what you're supposed to, you had all the freedom in the world.
Absolutely. I know I'm a little bit younger than you, but I very much had a childhood like that too. Like you were expected to do certain things, expected to act a certain way. I never did have to cut a switch off a tree. That was just happened to be my parents, but they did have a paddle. They did have a belt, but I learned at a very young age, I associated the pain with don't ever freaking think about doing that again. And so, it connected with me as a young kid. I'm like, no, that hurt once. I am definitely not doing that again.
Yeah.
And just kind of learned from there. My sister, on the other hand, and sometimes she listens to my podcast, so and she'll see if she ever reaches out to me about that. My sister didn't listen as well. She was kind of the rebel in some ways. But, just different times, right?
Yeah, man, it's different times, man. I mean, my kids growing up, they got the belt. I never took a tree limb to their butts. They got the belt when they were little. But it is, man. It's different times. I mean, you can't whoop nobody these days without somebody having to say something. But, thanks to social media.
Yeah. Well, I was just say, social media is kind of bleeds into what I was going to say, but kids these days have so many more distractions. Like the world around us just moves so much faster these days. Just our attention spans are shorter. All the stuff going on in the world around us because of social media.
Well, it's a double
and things like that.
I mean, there's social media can be used for great things, like your podcast and so much other stuff. And then whenever they came out with this smartphone thing, man, it literally opened up the world to our young ones, and they're seeing other people do things that if they didn't have that, you'd have never thought about it. You wouldn't have so many people out here like, oh, I just watched this woman whoop her kid in Walmart. Let's call the cops for child abuse. It's not child abuse. It's a double-edged sword, man. You gotta take it. It is what it is.
Yeah. For those younger listeners and viewers, there was a time before Google and Facebook.
I'm older than Google.
And short video clips on and on a mobile computer in your hands, basically. There was a much simpler time where, if you were going to hop on and do a search, it was at school, maybe on the computer, because I'm 37. So, we had computers in school, we had computers at home, but we had dial-up internet. And back at a time where it seemed like, compared to today, there was only like 50 websites. There was obviously far more than that, but that's back then you could actually probably quantifiably count the number of websites.
Yeah.
Now I think it's like literally into billions. I mean, you can create one in 30 seconds, but it's different world we live in.
Absolutely.
But so your service ended a little unexpectedly. Could you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
January 7th, 2014. For those who are military, knows what a command inventory is. We're third shop, Fort Riley, Kansas, first maintenance company. Got me and about 20 other guys doing a 250-man job. You work long hours. You're only required 4 hours of sleep, but after 18-hour days for about a week, you get a little tired. Just going to get my guys some lunch, man, something simple. And Fort Riley, Trooper Drive, there's a really big ravine going down it, and just hit some black ice, man, and just ran off of it. Thank God I don't remember the wreck. That's some kind of pain I don't want to have in my memory, but just crushed both my legs, man. Ended up losing the left one above the knee, and the right one's got 30 screws, 4 plates, and a 10-inch rod in it, and I can't feel my foot. So, they kind of cut my career short. At least they medically retired me before they let me go. So,
yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And the military could have definitely done you worse on that.
Yeah.
So what was that healing journey like for you? How long did that take to kind of heal up till you could get back home and try and go on with life?
Man, I was in a hospital for an entire year.
Damn.
From January 7th until I think the second week of January of 2015. I was in the hospital. My legs were busted up pretty bad. It just took time. Started off at KU Med in Kansas City. That's where all the repairs and stuff were done. The amputation were done. On my birthday, in 2014, they sent me down to Audie Murphy VA. That's where I started my rehab. Going in, getting back into exercising and stuff like that. First tried on my prosthetic, and was a little bit of a downside. Doctors saying that I'd really never walk unassisted again, or even walk at all for that matter, just because of how damaged my right leg was. It was bowing out real bad. Can't feel my foot. So I can't use my toes to balance. I don't know if people really understand how much your toes are really important.
Yeah. I mean, I know it, but I mean, I cannot imagine that weird feeling of not being able to feel it and not being able to balance when it's there. Like, it's there. Like, why is it not, I guess, working? It's gotta be frustrating as hell.
But yeah, it took a year, man. I think it was right around September. I got to go home for a couple of weeks, which they had done transferred me to Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio by then. I got out, went in, had another knee surgery to where they kind of knocked my knee inside. So that way, when I stood up, it was actually stable instead of being bow-legged out. And then I went into a different rehab center, which was horrible. They literally put me in a rehab center that was for the elderly. And it's like, you're not doing anything that's helping me. So I finally just, called my chain of command. I was like, I got to get me out of this place.
Well, I mean, it seems a little odd because you were really big into fitness and working out and stuff when you were in Army, right? So
military.
Like you're a big guy. I don't know how tall you are, but I'm guessing you're like probably around 6'5", 6'6". I mean, so somewhere in that, like, and you think of like little elderly people, with old fragile bones. It really sounds bad to say that, but you would think, and I'm not a medical person, but there's got to be some very big differences in how you would rehab.
There is, and it was unfortunately it was a glitch on the Army side of things. Because I was already in touch with the Audie Murphy VA. They were supposed to have sent me back to that place, where the rehab training there was it was immaculate. They had freaking everything. But it just didn't work out that way, man. Everything happens for a reason. But yeah, called chain of command. They jerked me out. They actually started my med board proceedings the week before I got out. So went on Fort Sam Houston, which we had the CFI there, the Center for Intrepid, where a lot of the amputations and people go, which they have a really upscale gym and stuff like that there too, man. But once again, downside, you're done starting my med board, so all these doctors are like, "Hey, this guy's fixing to leave in 6 months, so what's the point of putting in the time and trying to run through these things when he's not going to have enough time to really adapt or learn what we're trying to teach him?" So, I'd spent mid-January till the last week of September of 2015 on Fort Sam. Fired a couple of therapists because they just wanted me to go upstairs and walk, and it's like, it hurts. Like, it literally hurts. Like, it feels like 1,000 knives in the bottom of my foot and in my leg when I'm trying to walk. And they finally gave me a therapist, man, that I forget her name, bless her heart, but within 2 days she had me in this Ideo brace, took the pain away for me whenever I started walking, and had me doing some things. I'm using one of these little bitty walkers just to keep my balance, because once again, I can't feel my toes. So every time I let go, I'm falling left and right. So I ended up using crutches, man. After I finally got home, after being retired out, I used crutches in my wheelchair for all the way up until October 2020.
Wow. So you kind of said some things there. Kind of wanted to ask some questions about. You mentioned a therapist that was really helpful. And I think that kind of goes on you taking charge of your healthcare and knowing that, hey, this is my body and this is how I'm feeling, and I'm not getting the resources and help I need. Because I know that there's got to be a lot of people out there every year that serve, and they have an accident like yours, or they get injured in combat, or they've just got some medical issue that comes up and they're in the hospital for 6 months, a year, whatever. Like, what advice do you have for people to take charge of your own healthcare, be your own advocate?
You saying that right there, man, pretty much says it all. Don't take no shit off nobody. I mean, people can say, "Oh, go do this or go do that." If you don't feel that it's working, step up. Yeah, that's one thing that, in some instances in life nowadays, man, people are scared to say anything. Oh, I don't want to offend this person, or I don't want to make this person feel bad or whatnot. When it comes to your health, who cares? If it's not working, I'm not doing it. I'm going to try it for a little bit, but if it's not going to work, I'm not going to continue it. It's just like all my VA doctors, a lot of the people that, I try to help with their VA stuff. That's the one thing that they're scared of, is to step up and tell their doctor, "Dude, this doesn't work. I'm not doing this no more. You're not going to sit here and continue to put me through this kind of therapy, or have me on this kind of medication, or have me this kind of therapist that's not doing shit. So why am I going to continue it?" But there again, I mean, thank God for the internet. Do your research. I mean, look for other different types of therapies and therapists. And me, I'm not a real big medication person, but if you're looking for a different kind of medication, there's stuff out there for you to read. Make yourself knowledgeable of what's out there before you just go up and say, "Hey, man, this ain't gonna work." Well, what do you want to do? I don't know. Well, if you don't have any idea what you want to do, then I'm going to continue to do this. You got to have your firepower if you're going to tell your doctor no. Now everybody at the VA knows that, you know, if I'm coming up and telling you that this ain't working, then there's something else that I've already got in my mind to try.
Well, that's a good piece of advice for life, just life in general. Like, you know, do your research, learn, and have some sort of a solution or an idea of something to try next.
Absolutely.
And it does help to have, you got to have good conversations with your doctor too. Cause I've had, man, I got out 10 and a half years ago, right? I've had 5 doctors at the VA and they have been wildly different doctors. I have had one that was like, and I'm not a big drinker, but it was like no drinking, like none, like do not drink. I've had one that was just like, you know, oh, we're not going to do medicine for this. And then 2 weeks later, medicine shows up in my door. And then I call and he's like, yeah, I had a change of mind after you left. Just whatever way the wind was blowing. They were all nice doctors. I had one that was in his 80s and still practicing. I thought he was, first time I met him, I thought he was a World War II guy, got lost in the VA. Like, this guy comes in and sets his cane around the door. And I'm like, is this guy lost? And he just sticks his hand up and says, hey, I'm your doctor. I was like thinking in my head, like, no shit, really? What are you still working for? But you know, you gotta have conversations. You gotta build those relationships. You gotta let them know, like, you know, when something's wrong. So that helps, you know, and that's one of the reasons I don't think I've had too many problems at the VA. A, because I go to my doctor, but B, I have conversations with them and just be open with them.
Yeah, you can't not go and expect them to be like, okay, well, we're just going to do what you want to. Yeah, that's a big problem that I see is just people just don't go. Oh, I don't want to go. I just don't want to deal with the politics. Well, you need health care, right? Yeah, then you need to take your ass to the doctor.
Yeah. Well, I'm not feeling that bad. I haven't been to the doctor in 6 years, but I'm not feeling that bad. You know, I mean, I got this weird growth here and I got whatever, like, you know, and it's like, maybe you should go talk to your doctor about that. Like, you know, talk to him about how you're feeling, get those checkups, you know, get the blood work done and all those things. It's important. But speaking of doctors and nurses, and I'm curious what your answer is on this, because you were in the hospital for such a long time. How did you get through that period of, you know, was there like video games or activities or things that the hospital did? Like, I mean, how do you get through sitting there for months on end, sitting in a hospital room and keep your sanity? I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, you know, my time at med was, I'm not gonna lie, I had an IV in my arm and I had a morphine drip the entire time I was there because how beat up I was. When they got me down to San Antonio, down to the Audie Murphy VA, within a week, my recreational therapist came up because, I don't know, I guess I just made a good impression on, like you say, have conversations with people, talk to people, you know, be friendly or whatnot. They got my paycheck and they rolled me out to a van and took me to the mall, and man, I bought a brand new Xbox. And I bought I got my Assassin's Creed games and my Madden games, and man, I was getting movies, and I had fat heads that I ordered. I made my hospital room in the VA my own little apartment. After about a month of being there, if I didn't have anything going on, they didn't give a damn that I roamed the hospital or went outside and rolled out and just went outside and sat down or whatnot. I mean, they entrust responsibility to you, and if you keep that responsibility and you keep your trust and you keep your nose clean to stay out of trouble, you don't have to sit in there 24/7. So, you know, you wake up, you eat breakfast, you go to PT, you know, then you got your recreational therapist, and then you eat, then you got some more PT. And after that, man, it's just you do what you want to do. I mean, now there are some people, of course, that are not able to do that. Yeah, there you had some people in there that's got injuries, they just couldn't leave their room. Yeah, and then you got people out there that's, you know, calling their buddies down the road, hey man, bring me a drink, and they walk, you know, rolling back in and smell like alcohol. You're not going back outside. Don't abuse it. But yeah, man, I really didn't. It was just like another day in a little apartment for me.
Yeah, you don't want to abuse that and piss the nurses off, because I'm sure you had pretty much the same nurses, kind of
pretty much.
constantly, and nurses don't play around. I've if you're on their good side, man, they'll let you get away with things. If you're not, they won't.
They was, man. They didn't even, I didn't even have to eat the hospital food if I didn't want. They let me order shit. You know what I mean?
Look at that. Big country's got another pizza getting delivered.
I got adapted to being in there. I was like, I kind of don't want to go home. I'm enjoying this, but I don't know. It wasn't a bad time. I made the best out of the situation. You know what I mean? I talked to my doctors and my nurses. We giggled, we laughed, and stuff like that. Man, it worked out the way it was supposed to.
That's awesome. I kind of figured, based on the previous conversation we had, and you kind of having that positive mentality, of like just trying to make the best of things, right? Being grateful and all that stuff. I kind of figured you probably had something like, movie addiction or video games or messing around, playing some jokes on people, just, like, you got nothing but time, right? Like you got to do something other than to sit there and stare at a wall.
I'm not a big gamer, but I will say that I went through Assassin's Creed, Black Flag, and Unity while I was in the hospital. Went through that years of Madden football too. So I mean, I kept myself busy. But after I got out, man, I didn't really ever touch the video games again. That was just to pass the time, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, you got plenty of time. Like you said, if you got 3 or 4 appointments throughout the day, that's 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, whatever it comes to, and meals and his sleep time, you're still left with a handful of hours. And nobody wants to stare at a wall.
No.
So, yeah, that's awesome. So moving forward after that, you find yourself at home, and at some point in time, you surprised the heck out of your son with something. Can you share that story with us?
Yeah. So after coming home, man, it's everybody's got their ways of dealing with their stuff. Mine was actually trying to help people. The tattoo therapy program I had, my own little podcast, radio network, whatever you want to call it, the Dangerous Grounds Network. And then I did some motivational speaking, man, and it was trying to help other people to hide what the hell I was going through. Then 2020 hit. It was a bad year for everybody. Everybody went through some shit in 2020, but man, I literally, whenever I moved in this house, was May 9th of 2020, and then I fell into the biggest fucking depression I've ever been in. Like I literally sat back, family wasn't around except for my kids, and friends were very scarce and whatnot, dude. So I barricaded myself in this house, and one day I just got pissed off at myself, and I'm also like, better than this. You're not supposed to be sitting in here like shades, like it was dark in here all the time. There wasn't no sunlight coming in this house. So yeah, man, I about the first week and a half into September, I was like, what the hell with this? I got up out of my chair and I would bounce myself off the walls in my house. It's like, tell me I'm not going to walk again. And finally, I got to the point where I could get up and I could take a few steps before I had to grab onto something. And my son's birthday is the 12th of October, and he was over here. He was cooking and stuff. He was going to have something for his birthday, and I went in the other room. I got in my chair, put my leg and stuff on, and I stood up, and I come walking around the corner, and he just, boom, he's like, just shocked. He see his dad up again without anything underneath his arms, holding him up, or me all hunched over on crutches or rolling around in a freaking wheelchair. He's actually able to stand up and hug his dad for, the real time, for the first time in years. So, to see them happy tears come out from him, and he's been so supportive and motivating for me. My son's my rock. Yeah, I love all my kids. Yeah, I'm a father of 6. My son's my rock. That boy has stood beside me every step of the way. You know, even when some family members would just be down, he'd make sure that Dad's okay. And I hear him rustling around now. He's probably just getting up.
He just knows in the back of his mind, intuition, you're talking about him right now.
He was outside. He was out fishing all night last night with his buddies. But man, it's that was worth it. When I seen that, I was just like, I kept going. You know, for the next 2 months, that's what I did. I got used to walking again. Took quite a few spills and whatnot, but by the 1st of December, got back in the gym. Wasn't using my crutches. I could go from the parking lot into the gym and walk around the gym and be able to work out. And I lost a shit ton of weight. You know, started gaining my muscles back and made it easier for me to walk. I was like, yes, this is working.
Big compound effect, right? Like, hey, I did 50 more steps today than I did yesterday, and now I'm losing weight and I'm feeling better and moving faster. And that's got to be incredibly like rewarding.
And it's done nothing but explode from there, man. So.
Well, exploding is definitely something that describes kind of your journey right now, because you need your muscles to explode when you're doing some of your sports. And so you've gotten into not only back into the gym and weightlifting, but you've gotten into multiple sports. And I'll let you kind of tell some of that story, but like that's got to be incredibly cool to be on this journey just to be better for yourself, and then all of a sudden get involved with some sports and some potentially really awesome stuff in the future. But tell us a little bit about that journey.
It's awesome. Wow. So December 1st, go fast forward a couple of months. I'm like, I wonder what it would take to make it to the Paralympics. So started bugging, like I started looking up information and stuff like that, man. And I finally got somebody from the Paralympic committee to call me, like just initial information, who it was, where my injuries were sustained from, stuff like that. Nothing like really, really promising. But so I was telling my case manager about it at the VA. And I was like, I heard from these people, and they, took my information down and said that, they would have some people on the lookout for me. So my case manager got me a hold of the adaptive sports coordinator at my VA, and we signed up for the National Wheelchair Games. Pick my sports. So I wanted to do the shot put and power lift. I've done nothing but bust my ass ever since, man. It's up at 3:00 in the morning so I can get my food intake in. Cut out all the fast food, the soda, water's my best friend. Just re-educating myself back into fitness, because it's here we are, 2021, and it's been 6+ years since I've picked up a weight or played basketball or whatnot. Planet Fitness walked in one day, and the general manager walked up, and she's like, tell me a little bit about your story, and told her what was going on. And next thing I know, Planet Fitness is a sponsor. I'm like, what?
Where'd that come from?
So, it's like, yeah, don't worry about your membership fees. I mean, the cooler's the cooler. It's like, take whatever you want out of there. You can bring a guest with you anytime you want. I mean, black card privileges, but, then next thing I know, what gets around of why I'm training. I want to eventually try to make Team USA, and I'm fixing to go to New York City to compete in the National Wheelchair Games. It's not seeing a person with a disability like mine, or somebody that doesn't have an arm or something, is not something that is seen in the civilian community that much. When you get around
Good
military
point.
bases or something like that, then yeah, it's a little bit more common. A lot of people do end up staying around that area because it's that lifestyle they like to be around and their health, as far as health goes. So Spectrum News and Fox News came out and did a little story on me last Memorial Day, and went to New York and medaled in the shot put and disc. Got a silver and a bronze. No training, no coaching. Man, just walked out there and threw it and got 2 medals. My coach was like, "Dude, that's pretty good."
That's pretty impressive. You never picked one up before.
Right? So then the secretary of the VA came up. They heard that there's really big giant guy who likes to scream when he throws. Dude, whenever I go to compete, it's a light switch. I go from being nice and calm to I am very, very loud. I want inside your head to screw with your head because I'm about to outthrow you. Well, my second round of throws that we didn't, it didn't count towards medals, was really, really I shocked myself. My discus throw was almost 100 feet sitting down. It just, we go back and we look at some of the records from the last Paralympics, and it was good enough to medal there. So threw in front of the right people at the right time, man. I get back home and I messaged Joe Ken on Instagram. That's the Panthers' old strength coach. I'm like, hey, man, I was like, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you mind helping me out? How much does it cost to work with you? So I start talking to Joe Ken about strength training. And, he feeds me workouts here and there. Here, try this out. See if this works for you to increase your strength and whatnot for your powerlifting. And then he sends me over to this lady named Adrienne Wilson. She's a 5-time world women's champion in the Highlander Games. She is a badass. This little bitty woman will throw some of the heaviest things you've ever carried further than you will. And I've been training up underneath her, man, and I've been at it. Eating anywhere between 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day, drinking water. I just now over the last month and a half introduced cardio pretty regularly back into my routine to shave off some of the fat from eating so much. That's one thing I guess people need to realize. When you're eating all those calories to build muscle, you are still going to retain some fat.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It's just getting ready, man. Getting ready for competition season. Just had the Army trials a couple of weeks ago. Still, not everything's been judged yet because some of the judges were out in the Netherlands for the Invictus Games. If you don't know what those are, we do have a Team US in that. So the coaches are just now getting in so they can score everything. Taking off on the 16th to Mesa, Arizona for the Desert Challenge 2022. Getting my international classification and ranking out there. It's my first Paralympic event, or it's put on by the Paralympic Committee. Let me rephrase that. I was recruited to attend the camp beforehand. There was like 8 of us out of thousands.
Wow.
We're being watched. We're on some radars, and we got some people. Big thanks to a guy named Joel Hunt. He's a skier in the 2014 Paralympics. He contacted me one day, man, and just gave me some amazing information. Robert Garcia from Facebook. He's been kind of following my journey here lately. He's the one that introduced me to Joel. And, man, I got my international Paralympic license. It's just,
it's been a whirlwind last couple of months for you. And
aiming towards the 2024 games, man.
Yeah.
this year's kind of like my freebie year, or it's as for the athletes that's trying to make Team USA. This is our freebie year. Everything starts counting in 2023. But we got the Desert Challenge to go to, and then we'll come back home for a month, and then we'll be back out in Tempe, Arizona for the National Wheelchair Games again, man. And, trying to help other people with disabilities get to the point where I'm at. I want to help people get their licenses and stuff like that too, man. Just gotta be willing to work hard and really, really put forth the effort. It's hard work, but it's such an amazing feeling, to get these accomplishments. Some days it's just like, I don't want to go to bed. I'm sore. My muscles ache from working my ass off the previous day, but it's like, gotta get up, get your ass out of bed, get rolling. My son will catch me on the couch, knocked out every once in a while. I'll be like, hey, you taking a nap?
So it's strategically timed nap to re-energize and rest the muscles, right?
I have nothing to do for the next half an hour. I'm going to sleep 65 minutes to that.
Relax, son. This was strategically done on purpose. One thing I wanted to back up to that I'm curious on, because the first time you picked those up and competed, it was the first time. What was it like when you had somebody kind of actually training you on, maybe the right form and how to do the throws? Like, did you just like have a moment, almost like golfing, right? Like, I'm not a great golfer, but every now and then you hit one and you're like, damn, that was good. You're like, wow, okay, I learned something. So like, do you have one of those moments where you're like, okay, this is a game changer for me?
Yeah.
Like, I know I got the strength, but like this changes things.
It was the first time that I rode down to see Coach Wilson. It's about an hour and a half drive for me. A little chilly that day, kind of cloudy. Didn't have my throwing frame at the time, so we used a plastic chair.
It works.
Plastic chair. I strapped myself to the chair, man. But we were just working on form anyway. I wasn't trying to throw for distance. And the little things that she was teaching me, she was like, she's seen the videos of me throwing, and she's like, oh yeah, because we just need to tweak this here and tweak that there, like holding on to the disc. I was like trying to grab up underneath it with my fingers so I could hold it. And that's not the way you hold it. Not the way you hold it at all. I mean, your fingertips are barely touching the edge, and it's all the body motions. I mean, even the way I was throwing was wrong, but I was still chunking it out there. So it's just, correcting those forms and whatnot. And it's like, damn, I wish I'd have knew this. But, you trial and error. You do something good the wrong way, you're going to do something great the right way.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, I mean, you got no experience at this. You just picked it up and chucked it for what would have been a medal, at another time, another place. But because I wouldn't know either. Like, I would have thought the same thing. Like, okay, throw this. Like, okay, I probably would have done the same thing with the fingers. You wouldn't think that, like, if your fingertips are barely on it, like, you'd even be able to have a grip. But, the little intricacies that, real champions get, through the form and through the artwork. Like, God, was it Kobe? I think it was famous for shooting like an extra 1,000 shots after practice. Like, just work on form, just repetitive, just work and grind at it. Makes all the difference.
It does. And I'm not the one that come up with this, but I've said it quite a few times because I believe it. You have to be obsessed with what you're doing. If you're playing golf or playing basketball or throwing, a 2-pound disc or an 8-pound ball, or, if you're fishing, you have to be obsessed with what you're doing to be great at it. You can't just be good and be like, okay, I practiced a little bit here today. I practiced a little bit here today. I'm doing pretty good. I'm beating, half the people I know, but I'm not beating everybody I know. My wife, she gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning anyway to get ready for work. but I'm up an hour before her just so I can wake up. I drink. First thing I do within 30 minutes is drink a whole bottle of water. And I got a little thing that I make of oats and protein powder and a little bit of Greek yogurt just to get my system going, to get that fat burning process going and all my organs running. 45 minutes later, I'm eating 250 grams of egg whites and a whole cup of oatmeal, and I'll do the same thing 2.5 hours later. And then I'm at the gym working out for 2.5 hours. And I come home and it's 30 ounces of ground turkey split into 3 meals. I mean, and then it's research. What are other athletes out there that are doing the same thing? I scout other athletes. I want to know what they're throwing, how they're throwing, how far they're throwing, to tweak my skills up. And then you get coached. It's constant, man. It's constant. You can't be the greatest in the world and half-ass it. It's not going to happen.
It's 100% not going to happen. Can't guarantee much, but guarantee that's not going to happen. Yeah. Well, you kind of hit on something, your wife, because I knew from our previous conversation, your wife and your son were so huge to you throughout the process lately, and I'm sure they're going to be huge for you in the future. How impactful have they been in your life to motivate you to keep going? Almost immeasurable.
Man, when two people truly love each other, they connect on all levels. You think the same, you do things the same. You don't care about kissing that person in the morning and with that morning breath. You don't give a shit because you literally love that person. And my wife I'm the luckiest man in the world to have that woman. She is definitely my other half and pushes me and lets me know how proud she is of me, even when I'm not doing my best. There's not a day that doesn't go by that she tells me she loves me more than I know. We're waiting on our second oldest son, Hunter, to graduate high school. They're down in Florida at the moment, but they move up here on the 1st of June. And I've been spending the first half of the month in Florida for quite some time now. This is actually the first month in about 5 or 6 months that I haven't been, because I'm getting ready for Arizona next month. There's not a night goes by that we don't have FaceTime on when we go to bed. Like our phone, if we want to get up and say, "Hey, are you okay?" We can hear each other. Never had that kind of support before, man. I've been married a couple of times, and just never been like that. And as far as all my kids, man, my daughters and my sons, they're all, gun ho with what I'm doing, and I'm glad they are, because that's, yes, I enjoy doing what I do. I enjoy pushing beyond my limits and showing that I can do stuff for myself. But it's the point of showing my kids. It doesn't matter what life throws at you. If you want it bad enough, you're gonna get it. You're gonna make it. You have to dig in, and you have to fucking work. You have to sweat. You have to bleed. You have to fight through the pain, and you can't quit. You have to push. I was talking to my daughter, Joya. She's 18. I have 2 daughters named Joya, the oldest one. I was telling her, and I kind of came up with one of my new quotes I've been putting on some of my posts. Pain is temporary and quitting's forever. Fight through the pain and never quit. I remember when that first came out to her, and she's like, I understand that. She goes, I really, really do. You know, my daughter's inspiring to be a really good artist, and she blows my mind with some of the stuff that she sends me. I'm just like, damn, that's coming from your hand. I'm like, girl, you need to put this shit to damn art.
Let me guess, you're not a very artistic person then.
That girl can draw. She really can. And I don't know, man, it's when you're doing something and your kids are proud of it and they're seeing that something that was killing me and dragging me down into the dumps to where just nobody wanted to be around. Now it's, life's great again. It's happy. The skies are bright. Food tastes good. The water tastes good. I'm coming to whoop everybody's ass. Tastes good.
Yeah, when it comes to kids, like kids just soak up everything. You kind of mentioned earlier about your grandfather, right? Like how much you learned from him, how much that helped you in ROTC, joining the military. Like it just like clicked, right? Because of him being in your life. I know my parents were that way. Other people, other grown-ups in my life, like you learn so much from them as a kid that you don't even begin to realize probably until you're in your late 20s, 30s. Like you start figuring out adult life to some degree and you're like, man, I learned that from so-and-so. I learned that from my dad, my mom, my grandparents, whatever. And it's like, so, as a parent, like I do, like, man, your kids soak up everything.
I do.
And they have definitely seen you go through all kinds of shit and come out on the other side, like there to dominate, just straight up dominate. Like, it don't matter what the hell's in front of you. You can go kick that obstacle down and keep on trucking.
Absolutely. I mean, man, it's like the last couple of weeks. First Attachment Nutrition, big shout out to them. Better known company, man. This nutrition company. I know a lot of people's like, oh, well, this company's not. I don't really know what's in their stuff, and I'm not really seeing. They go through videos to explain what's in their stuff, how it helps, how's it gonna help. They just brought me on as a sponsored athlete. A buddy of mine named Tom, he's a bodybuilder up in Vermont. They call him the Unit on TikTok. Big dude, Air Force vet. He got picked up a little bit before I did, man. Just people seeing your worth and your dedication to things. They want to be there. They want to help you out. Me and Planet Fitness is talking about some bigger things now. Since I got my international Paralympic license, you have to have that to compete internationally, especially in the Paralympics. So it's now we're in bigger talks with them. It's like, okay, so I have this now. What do you want to do? And that wasn't even that was like the GM's thing. It's just like, okay, you need to email corporate over here. They need to do a little bit more for you. But I mean, we're in talks about some things. Fox News is going to be coming back out on Monday to do another story on me, kind of like a follow-up. Somehow this has gotten back around to them. So we'll be doing a segment from Planet Fitness in Belmont, and then they'll be following me out to the park. I'll be setting up my throwing frame, doing a couple throws for them and whatnot. Big shout outs to Two Chick Sandwiches and Scoops in Belmont, man. Awesome little place to eat, man. They kind of helped me out with my supplement stuff here and there. Both my coaches, dude, it's just amazing just to see the inspiration that's come across a lot of people's face, man. There's not a day that goes by that I'm in the gym if somebody doesn't walk up and say, hey, what's up? And we sit there and have conversations. I actually went to go get a little bit of cardio in before the show and, talked to a couple guys while I was there. It's also led me into my next journey with all this. I just signed up for my master trainer courses. I'm taking with NSCF, getting my personal trainer, my nutrition and my strength coach certificate to be a master personal trainer.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a perfect fit for you. Like, really, it really is.
It's we've been helping so many people out, man. I even TikTok's been kind of a big reach out for me here lately, and a couple of those people have reached out. So I was like, you know what, it's time to turn this into a job. I love helping people and helping them regain their life back through fitness, because yes, it sucks sometimes to work through the pain, but your mental state gets better, you sleep better, you eat better. If you're stressed out, if you're pissed off, go to the freaking gym, take it out on the damn weights, and when you come out, you feel better. So, time to start helping some people, man.
Well, there's no doubt about it that you're helping people. Just your story, man. You talk about inspiring people. Like, that's why I was so excited, because you mentioned Rob Garcia earlier. It was actually his post where he tagged you and Joel that made me reach out to you, because I knew immediately. I'm like, oh, all right, Army vet, whatever little thing that he put in there about your story, I was like, I got to have you on this podcast. Like, absolutely slam dunk, because this is all about educating and inspiring people.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked some of those questions about the hospital and stuff earlier, and like, how did you get through it? Because service members or veterans, you never know when you might end up in the hospital for 6 months or a year, right? And what are you going to have to do to try and get through that shit? What is your rehab going to be like? What is your family structure going to be like?
Right.
In a lot of ways, you probably got really, really, really lucky with some of those stuff, right? Advocating for yourself, having a supportive family, some extremely supportive wife. I know you guys just got married not too long ago, to have that around you is just huge, and then for you to turn that around and inspire others and push others, and, kind of like, hey, look, you can do this too.
Man,
you can do this. It just takes work.
I'm not going to mention the name of the person, but they're going through something that I went through right now, this very moment. They're on their weight loss journey, but they're expecting things to happen like that. They want that attention from certain females, and they want to be able to do certain things, and they have to understand that it's a process. This shit don't happen overnight. Robert reaching out to me and introducing me to Joel would have never happened if I wasn't busting my ass. One of the big things that Joel asked me when we were on the telephone is, would you pay this forward? Absolutely. I've put it out in a couple of things. If you're disabled, and the same thing with here, if you're disabled and you're wanting to get into sports and fitness, and you're willing to bust your ass, I will help you get to where I'm at right now. I want to see people reach that goal. It's you got to put the work in, man. You have to. And whenever you're putting in the work in, and you find that self-love and that self-confidence that we are so easy to lose, man, that's when everything falls together. You love yourself and you're confident in yourself, life is fucking easy.
Yeah, well, that's good timing to throw your link up there, facebook.com/SGT Big Country. I'll spell it out there for those that listen. But search Big Country on Facebook, you find you there. But yeah, it something just hit me as you're saying it, like a compound effect. Trying to remember the guy who wrote the book. There was Darren Hardy was his name. He was founder of like Success Magazine or something like that, and wrote a book called The Compound Effect, something along those lines. I'll try and find a link and put it in the show notes too. But really, really good book, and it just talks about like, look, it's the daily habits, it's the little things. It's not going to happen today, not going to happen tomorrow, maybe not even next month. But if you make the permanent changes to whatever you're trying to do, today's little victory adds on to tomorrow's and the next day and the day after that. And then you're just going to wake up one day, basically, if you put in the hard work, and you're going to look back and be like, damn, look where I'm at now. Exactly. Like it happened. Like it just compounded like effect. It's just here.
Exactly. That was something I was explaining to my son. As I was getting up and getting my coffee, was coming home from fishing. And I was like, I said that exact thing to him. I was like, remember where we was at this time last year? And he goes, yeah. And I was like, man, I can't wait I wonder where we're going to be at this time next year. I said those exact words. It's funny. It's funny.
Yeah, well, you think about that. A year, what you've done in the last year, what will you do in the next 10 years? What could you do in the next 20 years? When you really start thinking about like really long-term because there's things like, for my business and me personally, like I don't put those pressures on like it's got to happen right now. It's like it's okay. This thing is a long-term thing.
Right.
It can grow in small increments and it'll be fine.
Right.
And we just gotta sometimes that social media and the fast-paced, short attention span world we live in does not help that. Where everybody wants everything now. Like everything's fast food, convenient. Like get it now. Like stream whatever you want on TV. We don't have to wait till next Monday night at 6 p.m. to watch that show anymore like we used to.
Well, I will say this: one of the long-term goals that me and my wife talked about is opening up our own gym. We want to make it to where it's able body and disabled body capable. So that way, even if you're in a wheelchair, confined to a wheelchair, you can come in and work out. And what I'm learning with all these sports, I will eventually start a league here in Gaston County. To where even if it's just something small, man, for people to enjoy and have fun, like a field day or something like that, man, I'm gonna bring some people into it. One thing that I did pass up over last year was playing basketball for the Rolling Hornets, which is a WNBA team. There is a professional wheelchair basketball league. I didn't know until last year. Our team won the national championship this year. But I turned them down. I was like, man, I can't dedicate the time to you like you deserve. But I mean, people like that. And, I coached Little League basketball at the YMCA. Go Bulldogs. My team went 8-0 this past season. So proud of my boys. Man, it's just the people that we've met through this entire thing, man. We're planning on putting something together for the community. I'm setting up my personal trainer business to train people in health and fitness, but we're going to put on some pretty cool sporting events along the way.
The health and fitness thing, I just thought of this, maybe just an idea for you, something to think about, because I know you're not have no problem being on video and stuff. Maybe put some videos out there, because I don't know if there is videos on this, but if somebody is missing an arm or a leg or has something that makes them have to work out in a different way, some sort of adaptation or whatever, to do some video series on some things for them. Like, hey, this may be your problem or something similar to that, but here's what you can do to work out this muscle in a different way. Like, I can't imagine like being in that boat, be like, oh, I just can't work out because I can't do X, Y, and Z. Like you can. Like I got a pinched nerve in my elbow, right? My neurologist says like no repetitive motion. Like it'll heal up. It's getting better. Like, eventually. But it's like I couldn't imagine like not having my left arm and not work out. There's a guy on TikTok that I've seen that's got a contraption that goes around his shoulders, and he just, I think it's amputated like right here, and he just puts like a strap around it, and that's how he's lifting weights. And it's like genius.
Yeah, it's I'll say this: great minds think alike. I have a very big notebook in the kitchen that has lots of notes.
Awesome. Well, man, I can't wait to see what you roll out with, and see where your journey goes. I highly encourage, and I say this, and try and remember this on every episode, to go follow, like, and subscribe to my followers. But please, you got to go to the website there. It's in the show notes. You gotta go follow Big Country and watch your journey, man, because I know you're inspiring me. Not only doing what you're doing, but because you're a veteran as well. Like I can't help but not to root for you. You know what I mean?
Appreciate it, brother. I mean, I do. And before we cut off, I have to give shout outs to a couple people. FirstAttachmentNutrition.com. Go check them out. Promo code BigCountry10 gets you a percentage off. An amazing business, amazing supplements. Check out Planet Fitness. You know what I'm saying? Big shout outs to Joe Ken and Adrian Wilson, my coaches, to my wife and my family. For you, brother, appreciate it. You bringing me on. Robert Garcia, Big Joel. I mean, thank you for all the blessings and for everything. And we're paying it forward, and big things are going to happen. Thank you
Absolutely.
so freaking.
And you're wearing your shirt.
Yeah.
You got nice.
So we just came out with a merch line. It's Sergeant Big Country. There's sleeveless shirts, regular T-shirts, dog tags, tumblers, keychains. If you go to my public figure page, which is Sergeant Big Country on Facebook, the logo's on the picture. If you'll just message this there and say, hey, I would like some merch, my merch manager will get to you. She'll take your order. They make everything per order. So it takes them like a day to make everything, and then they'll usually takes them a couple of days to turn around and mail it out, man. So, everything that everybody buys just helps go right back into the sports, man.
Awesome. All right. Well, Matt, I appreciate you being here. I can't wait to have you on sometime in the future to share some updates, see how things are going. And, maybe someday after, maybe you'll have, instead of a necklace on, maybe you'll have a medal around your neck. Big goal, right? That's the goal.
We're working for it.
All right, man. We'll take it easy.
All right, brother.